the psychology behind why certain people don't love sports.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love
so
this.
just looked into some studies of people who really like sports and those who are rather uninterested in them, and just some actual psychological differences between them. So what I'm going to share today is more the broad brush of sports lovers and sports I don't care people. So this isn't going to apply to everybody. But yeah, just kind of some generalities of the two groups.
Let's dive in.
And I thought it'd be pertinent because the Super Bowl's today, which everybody will be watching this tomorrow. Just got me thinking about why some people love sports and others don't.
I like it.
Yeah. So I thought this line was great. While millions of Americans spend their weekends screaming at their TVs and getting emotionally destroyed because 11 strangers lost a game, there's a massive group of people who just don't care. I was like, I feel like that's you.
That sounds a little bit more like they're superior than that. That's not how I would put it.
That you just don't care.
Yeah, I just don't really care.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree.
Yes.
I agree. I am superior.
Yeah. So according to neuroscience, there's actual studies that have been done on this. People who aren't locked in, like when the new NFL season begins, might actually have something in their brains that's wired differently than sports lovers. So about 60% of Americans follow sports religiously. That doesn't mean every sport, but there's at least one sport, basketball, football, etc., that they're really locked into. And the other 40%, it doesn't mean that they're boring or passionless or lack team spirit. They often just find that meaning and fulfillment in different ways. So first, I wanted to mention why scientists think Americans in particular care so much about sports, researching this reminded me of some other topics that we brought up before, which we can discuss. But scientists believe it's because humans by nature are what they call tribal creatures, that for thousands of years, being a part of a group or a tribe was like necessary to survive.
Totally.
That your tribe protected you from predators and other enemy tribes, helped you hunt, and you banded together to keep you and your family alive.
Yeah.
And sports today is basically a form of modern tribalism. A tribe that you can watch fight against another tribe while you sit on the couch wearing a jersey from that tribe and eating wings and potato chips. So this kind of reminded me of the discussion we had with Nate and Carson about 2 months ago about how men today don't really have something to fight for or aren't as needed as maybe they were in the past. And so maybe that's a bit why they love sports.
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think about that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have much that reminds us of why we need that social connection and aggressive outlet for our own testosterone or manhood or whatever you want to call it. But we've settled for watching other men do that instead. Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that's why it's so intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's interesting because more men watch sports than women, but there's still a huge percentage of women that's very into sports. But it's funny because being into sports is viewed as a masculine thing.
Yeah.
Even though you're not doing anything, but sitting there, oftentimes watching it.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting how we identify with that. Also, according to science, when somebody watches their favorite sports team on TV, their brain releases oxytocin.
Cool.
The bonding hormone.
Oh, no.
Yes. The same chemical that makes you love your family or your spouse.
Yeah.
So our brains are actually tricking us into thinking that like these millionaire athletes who do not care about us and will likely never meet are part of their tribe. So you actually can form an emotional connection to not only the team as a whole, but certain players.
Interesting. Because you can do that with podcasts. You can do that with other celebrities, actors, but you don't necessarily get the same amount of oxytocin that's released because it's not an aggressive form of competition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you might be really into your favorite recording artist, and there might be that small amount of like, oh, they won a Grammy this year. But that's very few amount of artists, and it's not as high stakes. Like
Totally.
they're still amazing if they got nominated, the 5 who did, to win a Grammy in something. And it's not this week after week watching this competition, kind of rooting for somebody. I found that fascinating that, yeah, for people who enjoy sports at a high level, their brain releases oxytocin.
And you know, before we continue, I just want to say this. I don't like football, baseball, basketball. I think they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some negative experiences around it when I was younger. Not playing them, just watching them and feeling like I could be doing better things with with who I'm watching them with. You know, we could be building relationship. But recently I've really found, and in the past couple of years, I've been in and out of MMA, not doing it, but watching it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's something out there for everybody, which I feel like that's where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something out there for every man, because we're using men as an example here, that helps to release that oxytocin in a masculine way.
Yes.
It doesn't, just because, you know, I'm not entertained by football or baseball or basketball, doesn't mean that I don't have an interest in another area in a similar sense. So I just want to clarify, I don't think I'm better than people who watch sports.
No.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I just am into different stuff.
Yeah. And the whole argument of this, it's funny, so much of the research is to like prove that people who don't like sports aren't lame. So all these studies were coming at the viewpoint that people who like sports are superior and better people.
Yeah.
So you're trying to be like, oh, I'm not better because I don't love sports.
Yeah.
And it's like all these studies were trying to like prove that there's not like something boring about you.
Yeah. Well, I've always felt lesser than because I didn't watch football as a man, you know, and that's an interesting thing to go through when you're, you know, a late teen into your adult years. You're like, one day puberty's going to kick in and I'm going to start liking football. I can't wait to just like sit down with the old man and my brothers. And it never hit. And so for me, it was like the opposite. I felt lesser then.
Yeah.
And then eventually kind of came into my own. But yeah, that's funny that this whole study was done
many of these to justify like there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. So here's more of, people who love sports release a lot more oxytocin in their brain when they're watching sports. They literally become bonded to their sports team.
Wow.
Kind of like you would to a family member.
Crazy.
Obviously not to that extreme of a level for everybody, but a little bit of an attachment. Hence like loyalty of if you grew up in a certain state, you're 25 and then you move somewhere else, still 30 years later, many people still identify with that home state team.
For sure.
Unless they really suck in the place they moved. Like growing up in Colorado, the Broncos were really good for a while. Now living in KC, the Chiefs, they had a pretty good last 5-6 years. I mean, this last season wasn't good, but
yeah.
So here's where the people who don't love sports part comes in. And it doesn't mean that you hate sports, but just that you're not like obsessed with it. So people who don't obsess over sports often have what psychologists call lower tribal instincts. Their identity in life isn't strongly tied to being a part of a group. They tend to be more individualistic and don't feel the need to be a part of something bigger. Doesn't mean they're not a loner. Doesn't mean they're like a loner, don't have any friends, but they don't feel that they have to have that group, or they're more of an individual themselves.
That's very true in my sense.
Yes, it made me think of you.
Wow.
Yeah. So just more individualistic, less like I need to be part of a team. Like I even in high school, I played sports my entire middle school, high school career. And part of that was my mom was determined for us not to be awkward homeschoolers that didn't ever talk to people.
Good for her.
And also I loved being physically active, but wasn't a huge team person. I think maybe just because like the mean girls in high school, I'm like, y'all are annoying. But I loved track because that was an individual sport. We would have relay races that I'd be a part of, but I liked just kind of bettering myself and having to only depend on myself. Yeah. If I let myself down, it was on me. Other people didn't let me down. And if I let myself down, I didn't let someone else down. Therefore,
that's a huge thing.
I liked the individual sports like archery and track. And they were also the ones I was probably the best at.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because yesterday we were having just lunch for your birthday. and we're talking about why, things we like about our relationship.
Mhm.
And we're both recovering people pleasers in a couple senses. And so it makes sense that we would both be very into individual sports because there's no disappointment to us, first and
Yes.
foremost, but there's also no disappointment to other people
Mhm.
if you lose at track.
Yeah.
There's no disappointment to other people if I, lose a battle in Dungeons and Dragons. Like it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
But it's that makes a lot of sense for people who are more on the people pleasing front as well.
Yeah. So interesting. That'd be cool to kind of study what kind of sports certain people choose based on their personalities. Because I'm thinking about, we did just about every sport out there. And my favorite ones were rock climbing, tennis, swimming, track, archery, all like just pretty much you competing or maybe a relay race kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And didn't love as much volleyball or soccer, basketball kind of a thing.
Yeah. And the worst thing in school is group projects.
Oh, 100%.
The worst.
Despise them.
And I've had great group projects.
Okay.
I really had them come together with other people. I hated every moment of it. And it's not because I'm cool and they're lame.
Yes.
It's just because that dependency thing. Like, I don't want them depending on me and I don't want to depend on them because we could disappoint each other. And there's the unknown.
Totally.
In that, for sure.
And somebody could let you down. This is totally off topic, but it reminded me of in school, there was this group project presentation. And I don't know how, I think they must have paired people up by last names because I ended up with this group of 3 different guys who I didn't really know. And they wouldn't respond to my emails. I tried to get together. We were supposed to give this like 10-minute presentation. And so I literally, it was like right before class was starting. They're like, hey, let's all get together and like figure out what we're going to do. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to talk about. And then we got up there and I walked over to the teacher. I said, they have done literally nothing and didn't respond to any of.
You said this in front of them?
Well, they were over to the side, but like informed the teacher, like, please do not grade me based upon what they do.
Yeah.
And so I presented my stuff and then they just looked like complete dummies and kind of, and it's these 3 guys. I remember their names. Like I could like, it like really marked me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever talked to them really other than that.
That is
but
so
I'm like,
funny.
do not grade. I hate group projects. Anyways.
Well, I now we're talking about, I had one group project in college with another guy. And like we were supposed to do this thing where we sang notes on a page in order to get a grade
like
without any music.
Yeah,
sight reading and sight singing. And I practiced my butt off. Like I was like, I'm not going to be the weak link on this team. And so I texted him, reminded him, and I was like, hey, we can get together. Got together once. It was terrible. He was awful. He hadn't practiced at all. And then we get there on the day and we both have to sing at the same time. And I'm singing. We're doing the project in front of everybody and I'm nailing it. And he's ruining it.
Yes.
And so afterwards, she had mercy on me.
Okay.
My teacher, and she gave me a good grade, regardless of what he was doing.
And so my teacher was too. I think he gave me an A, and the rest of them got something pretty low.
That's so cool. Yeah. Those teachers are awesome. Yeah. They really deserve like more pay.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anyways, so back to people who don't obsess over sports have lower tribal instincts, more individualistic by nature. It doesn't mean that they're not super dedicated to their family or their friend group, but they just don't need to be a part of something bigger to fulfill them.
Can I say something else? Mm-hmm. And this is not to toot our own horns. We are probably 2 of the most loyal people we know. Mm-hmm. And so this doesn't really make sense that we're so individualistic. I wonder why we're so individualistic. Yeah. We will die for any one of our family or friends, like easily. Mm-hmm. Probably the first ones to step up in that friend group if there's like somebody needs to take a bullet.
Oh, I will defend people. All growing up, like my biggest blowouts was somebody was rude to my brother. I will get in their face,
So do you think it's like, since we're so much that way, it's hard for us to just be that way casually about something that we know is going to hurt our hearts if we watch it?
I'll actually get into that later.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're actually picking up on something really profound. Yeah.
All
right. So a 2019 study found that people who have a low interest in sports are also much less likely to think in terms of us versus them. This means they don't automatically hate the other team just because they're not on that side. It also doesn't mean you're not competitive if you are playing a sport, but you just don't automatically, ooh, I hate the Raiders or I really dislike the Lakers just because your team's playing them. So yeah, they just often don't think in terms of us versus them.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
There have been a couple times when you have clearly been wronged by somebody and I come in after the fact and you tell me the story and I'm not against that person. I'm just kind of indifferent towards them. And it doesn't go well for me.
No,
it
not
doesn't
great
go well.
in a marriage.
No, not great in a marriage to not defend your wife.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I see myself in this. I don't know the full story. And so why would I invest myself in disliking this person? Yeah. Same thing goes with these teams.
Yes. But you always choose your wife.
Always choose your wife. Men out there, yes. It will save you.
At least 90% of the time.
It'll save you years of conflict.
Love it. But that's a good example.
Yeah.
So they think less in us versus them, which even it's funny. People would tease my family. My dad enjoys sports. He grew up in more of a sports household, and my mom, she's happy to watch her team's football game if the rest of the family is. My brother could care less about sports, but we are all very not us versus them. Even we would play games, board games with each other, and we would be like, oh, that's too bad you lost that round. We're encouraging the people that are losing. Yeah. And then I'd play with people who were so competitive and they're so mean. They're like, I'm going to take you out. I'm like, this is Monopoly. It's supposed to be, it's not that big a deal. It's not that I'm not competitive, but it's not the high stakes of me disliking this person.
Yes, totally.
So back to the brains of sports lovers. Sports fans, in addition to getting hits of oxytocin, the bonding chemical or hormone, whatever it is, they also get a little hit of dopamine every single play during a game that goes well for their team. So while watching, say, a football team, sports lovers are getting those constant little micro doses of anticipation. Is the play going to go well? And then, reward. Anticipation, it didn't go well. Anticipation, reward, just over and over and over. And it is literally addictive. Studies show that watching your favorite team play activates the same reward centers as gambling, playing the slot machine, pulling that, lever. Oh, am I going to get it? Yes.
Totally.
Pulling it again over and over and over. Same thing with sports betting, which is interesting because those go together very well, sports and sports betting, video games, and even social media, where you post something and you get, all those likes, all those notifications. Playing a video game I beat this round, I didn't. So watching sports is very similar to playing a slot machine for 2 hours.
Wow.
Play after play.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, with even less risk. There's not a social risk like there is with social media or a financial risk like with sports betting or gambling. So you don't feel bad about it. Indulging in it. Yeah.
And there's a lot of pros to it. Totally. I mean, it's kind of a social thing to do.
Yes.
If you're watching a football game alone, get a life. Yeah. Do something with yourself. Yeah. But if you're watching with people, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It's a communal thing, whereas gambling, sports betting, video games can be communal, but people do them by themselves very often. Same thing with social media. So it is a socially acceptable communal kind of, we're all
gambling together,
and you're bonding over that as well cool. with your teammates.
See, that's huge.
Yeah. It's why people will go to a game, sit in the stands, and they're connected with all these strangers around them because you have the same goal. You have that same, are they going to make it? They did. You celebrate it together. You mourn together. And so there's just a beautiful social component of that.
Wow.
And then for people who don't care about sports, studies have shown that their dopamine systems just aren't as easily triggered by sports in general. It doesn't mean they're not triggered by other things, but they think it could be tied to genetics. They find just because many families, whole family lines won't be into sports, but there's not enough to really tie it straight to that about why certain families' dopamine systems don't go off when watching sports.
Okay.
So some of it can be a nature versus nurture situation. If you grew up watching sports, you might just like it because of that. But people who don't love sports, they just don't feel the excitement. as much as people who do. And then there's, keep going.
One thing I want to say something about Christina to this whole audience. She loves the Olympics and they're happening right now.
Yes.
But something I'm realizing about the Olympics, they're team sports, but for the most part, you really like the individual events.
Yes. I would say the majority of Olympic events are individual or relay race or something.
So same thing, just individuals.
Yeah.
Instead of as a team. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think part of why I like the Olympics so much is the nostalgia. Growing up, we didn't watch a ton of TV, especially like cable network stuff. But every 2 years, for 2 weeks, we would, in our basement, watch the Olympics, like religiously. Just loved it. My dad, I mean, he's not a huge Olympics fan, but he'd join us to watch it. We would get popsicles every year, which was a big deal. We'd go and pick out the popsicles we would get. We'd have one every night. And we didn't grow up in a household that like had desserts every night. So it's a big deal. So I think part of it's the nostalgia. And also the Olympics, like, the Winter Olympics, they're only every 4 years. And some are every 4 years. So it's every 2 years for like 12 days are these events going on. And so I think that if it was the Olympics happened every weekend for 6 months of the year, I would not be as interested in it. So I think it's a little bit the novelty. And it's like American pride in America rather than, the Cleveland Browns. It's just like, all these young people that worked so hard at a lot of sports that I did growing up just because I did so many sports. I think that's a little bit of a connection. But yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, I'm not going to sit and watch, an NFL game every weekend. But, every 2 years, I'll watch 2 hours a day of the Olympics.
It's also good return on investment because although you're not watching something every weekend, you're watching something that's way more high stakes for that individual and for the country they're representing. And so it's like you're investing where you're investing your energy and your hopes where you could get the highest return.
Yes.
Pride for America, pride for that person who's been training their whole life for this one thing, this one moment. That's high stakes.
Yes.
Or really low. It can be like the lowest you could feel is if America gets 0.
Right.
We don't represent it well. And that person like broke their hip and never is able to do that sport again.
Yes.
So it's like, I feel it's like good return on investment of your energy in that sense.
Yeah. And also, so say there's a sport like ice skating. I only watch primetime coverage of the Olympics. I'm not watching it all day. So it's like, it's all condensed, the highlights of the day into like 2-ish hours. And they're only going to show the best 5 figure skaters. And America goes and she skates for 3 minutes. So my whole investment is maybe 20 minutes in that whole competition. And 75% of Olympians each year are new. They weren't there the 4 years before. So I literally have no emotional attachment to the majority of the athletes. I've never seen this brand new 17-year-old figure skater before. If she falls and doesn't win, that's a bummer. But I've not invested in her.
Yeah.
So it's like this easy, like, woo, that's amazing. And then if not, I'm like, oh, that sucks for her.
Yeah.
And I'll never see her again.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So here's one more interesting layer as we wrap up on the people who, love sports versus don't. Sports fans experience something that's called birging, B-I-R-G-ing, which stands for basking in reflected glory. So this is like when your team wins, they say, we won. You're like, you feel good the next day. You're fist bumping at work. Yeah, did you see that win?
Yeah.
So you're basking in this reflected glory. It's not glory for yourself or anything you accomplished, but like you're experiencing like, oh my gosh, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
You're feeling, not quite what Patrick Mahomes feels, but you're like, yeah, we won. And if they lost, you're like, they lost. You don't go to work and say, we lost.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yep.
Yep. So people don't obsess about sports. They're less likely to distance themselves from a loss or identify with the win. They're just like, oh, the team lost. The team won.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And they don't need eternal external victories to feel successful. So we might sit down and watch the Chiefs play. And if they won, we're like, oh, fun. That's awesome. But if they lose, we're not as devastated as a sports lover would. So they have found that people who don't obsess about sports often have more stable self-esteem. And they're less dependent on things that are completely outside of their control.
Oh,
they're only
cool.
affected by things that they can control rather than I can't, control if the Chiefs win this game. Therefore, I'm not really going to be that affected by it.
I hope that's true of me.
Yeah. Do you feel like really your self-esteem is more stable? Of course, it's, a blanket statement.
Yeah, I think so. But that's not because I don't like sports.
Yeah.
It's just because I've chosen that in my life, not to link it to external things in my life.
Love it.
What about you?
I mean, I think I have a great self-esteem, but I don't, they find people with higher self-esteem tend to not be as obsessed about sports. So it's not what caused you not to be obsessed about it. It's just personality things.
Yeah, totally. That's what I meant.
Yeah, exactly. Sports fans often score higher on certain empathy measures. So sports lovers tend towards caring deeply about people's struggles, even if that person is a quarterback on their favorite team.
Yeah.
The same thing for if they watch, a commercial or it's like in the arms of an angel
and the dog shaking in the street.
They're going to feel more for that dog or for, that quarterback missing the pass, where non-sports loving people tend to have more empathy related to real life factors, such as personal relationships or social justice activities, things that they're involved in real life. So if they see a dog on the side of the road, they're going to care about the dog in real life, but they're not going to be as affected by the dog on the commercial.
Yes.
Same thing with watching sports. They're like, oh, that sucks. That person missed the pass, but they're not as affected as like if their friend, in real life had something hard happen.
Wow.
In a generality, that's just what they found.
In general terms.
Yep. People who don't love sports are often much more open to new experiences. They tend to get their emotional highs from art, music, nature, and they find their rewards in those places. So they might connect with, around a group that loves music or hiking or discussing certain ideas and are open to new experiences, rather that sports lovers tend to be more locked into certain routines, which is why you'll watch your same team play 16 times a year your entire life.
Dang.
Yeah. Yep. And then lastly, I didn't get too deep into this because this could be depressing, but some people who don't care about sports, it's as a defense mechanism. They weren't good at sports growing up. They were always picked last in gym class, or like maybe they wanted to go do something fun on the weekend, but their whole family was glued to the TV.
Yep. There we go. That's it.
So it can just be a defense mechanism.
You can just take everything else away, and that's probably the one I have.
Yeah.
I was just like, I wanted to do fun things, and we were watching football. Like, couldn't we be doing anything else besides watching football right now? I think, that's, for me, that's probably what spurred it on.
Yeah.
I have some of the positives of the other one.
Yeah.
But just that one is probably just me to a T.
Yeah. And this happens especially with people whose like family, they're just into like every game. It's not just their team's game. They're watching Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday. They're watching it all.
Because it all matters. You can't just watch the ones that your team is in. You got to watch all the ones that teams you don't even know. College football.
Well, now that fantasy football has become a thing, I think it's a form of, it's sports betting in a low sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're then, connected to every game.
Hey, we're in a fantasy basketball league with your dad every year. It's fun. It's fun.
Well, it's March Madness. So it's like, we don't really super care about.
No, I auto draft every time.
Exactly.
It's
we don't watch any of the games.
No, it's fun to figure it out at the end. Like, who won?
Was it me? Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fun. So this last line was, people who don't obsess over sports often report feeling more present in their own lives. And this is because they're not spending 3 hours every Sunday experiencing someone else's struggle and letting those struggles become their own. They're often more engaged in their own life and their own struggles.
I would think that you would get empathy fatigue from watching sports all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily that it's bad. It's just overloaded.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if you just watch it once a week, I think that's okay.
Yeah.
3 hours a week, that's fine. I probably spend that amount of time on something else I'm invested in, but just watching football game after football game has got to really fatigue your emotions.
Yeah. And probably the more but there is that addictive nature.
Yes.
And you get that dopamine
Yeah.
and that oxytocin where, you feel connected. So it's the highs are high and the lows are low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting thing, though. I have a theory after hearing your entire, I don't want to call it a spiel.
That's
what
right.
would I call it?
Yep. Presentation.
Presentation. I think that people who don't watch sports are probably more invested in athletes who have a background that seems similar to the people who don't watch sports. So say that you are really interested in an Olympic athlete. They got themselves there. They worked hard their whole lives. They were focused on one singular thing. You know, they set aside every Sunday to not watch football.
Right.
In order to train to be good at something. You can see a little bit of yourself in that person. I bet you could see a little bit of yourself in that person more than you could see yourself in a professional football player or a soccer player.
Right.
Because what I'm thinking in my head is I can see myself in a CrossFit athlete or an MMA fighter, singular focus, one thing matters, push everything
it's more
out.
Fitness, working out related.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm not saying that football players aren't like that.
Right.
But when it comes to me, and this is just a theory and maybe you, we're probably more invested in athletes who look a little bit more like how we would be if we were athletes, you know?
Yes, because we're more individualistic. We probably would be in more of those sports.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just a theory I'm throwing out.
I like it. Well, and also like with the Olympics, which is funny. I think that was maybe the first episode we did. I talked about the Olympics.
I think it was D&D and the Olympics.
Yeah, which would have means that we started this summer 2024.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's cool. But with the Olympics, you're watching like the best 10 people in the world at something.
Yeah.
And you really care about the 2 Americans that made it. Whereas with sports, you maybe your team has the best quarterback in the NFL on it. But I mean, you have several hundred players in the NFL. So it doesn't mean it's still really impressive to make it to the NFL or the NBA. Like you're the best of the best. It's just there's a couple hundred of you.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Olympics. It's like, all right, we've got the 2 best American snowboarders. It's like it's the top tier. The same thing, like we don't really watch MMA fights or boxing, but we definitely watched when Jake Paul and Mike Tyson did because Mike Tyson's the legend.
He's the man.
So we might be more prone to watching the best of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that risk and reward, return on interest. I mean,
yeah.
It's like if I'm going to invest myself, it's going to be fully in.
Yep.
And it's going to be real high or real low.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. That's a great topic.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Any last thoughts?
It's not bad to watch football.
Yeah.
I just don't do it. I think it's bad to watch too much football.
Right. As with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you should always prioritize your hobbies and interests around things that actually matter and not in place of things that actually matter. So those are my last thoughts.
There we go. Cool.